Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Wealth Bootcamp and the Black Wealth Academy. I wanted to talk about something that I saw in the media this week that I think really provides an interesting opportunity to talk about financial literacy as well as what we do with our money, decisions that we make with our money, whether or not we're making smart decisions with our money. The story that everybody's been talking about, or a lot of people have, is the story of Marie Holmes. Marie is a young lady. I think she's in her early to mid 20s. She pretty much lived out a fantasy. She won the Powerball, or a chunk of the Powerball, and basically got about $88 million from the Powerball. Either 88 or 188. Sorry, I think 80. It might have been after this number I'm looking at might be after taxes. Either way, it was a whole lot of money, more money than any of us can ever dream of. And I was very happy for her. She seems like a sweet young lady. Well, Marie also ended up in the media because one of her first big investments was to bail out her boyfriend Lamar McDowell, and apparently he is a serious. He's facing some serious charges that relate to drug distribution. He apparently got caught with a lot of heroin, allegedly, and he was awaiting trial, and so she had to put up 6 million in bail to get him out. I don't know if she had to put out the whole amount or a percentage, but either way, it's a lot of money. When Lamar came home, he then violated the terms of his release and he ended up going back to jail. And then Marie was also charged with some kind of drug possession related crimes. Lamar had a gun, drugs, things like that, allegedly, according to the police. Now, I don't know what's really going on in this situation. I don't know if there were authorities that were watching her and said, you know what, she's got all this money. We're going to get rich basically by going in and locking her boyfriend up again, or waiting for them to slip up a little bit so we can lock everybody up and get money. That's a broad national kind of phenomenon. I mean, that's mass incarceration. That's why it's been so detrimental for the black community. In fact, Michelle Alexander, the author of The New Jim Crow, when she and I spoke last, we both agreed that reparations shouldn't just exist for slavery. That we are actually owed reparations for the war on drugs, because literally probably about $2 or $3 trillion in wealth has been taken out of the black community through mass incarceration. When you send men and women away to prison, mostly men, when you send them away to prison, you're taking away the family's earning potential. You're charging them crazy amounts of money just to make phone calls or to get basic things that they need. You are making them work for as little as $5 a month, basically putting them back into slavery. So that is a massive wealth transfer that tends to go to whites, primarily whites in small rural communities that live off of these prisons. So basically, here's where we are. Black people have we've become the commodity. We've become almost like the cattle, and we're being led to slaughter, and we're feeding other people. Now, that's the issue on mass incarceration. If you want to know my political opinion, I don't think that drug distribution is something that should be used as a way to ruin someone's life. The biggest drug dealers in America right now, by the way, happen to be pharmaceutical companies. A lot of people are getting addicted to legal drugs. Also, alcohol is actually named as the most dangerous drug in the world. A lot of it's because alcohol is legal, and people think it's safe because it's legal. But actually, alcohol causes more devastation, more economic damage, more psychological and family damage than any other drug, including crack, heroin, everything else. And so the only thing that makes the war on drugs comical is that the war on drugs was never really serious. We're never really committed to fighting the war on drugs. We had government officials letting the drugs in through the top and then wait until the drugs got to the street so they could arrest as many black people as possible to basically give the impression they were fighting this war when really it was a false war. It was really a war on black people. We're going to put the gun in your hand and then we're going to shoot you because you're holding the gun. That's kind of what it was. Or as Malcolm X used to say, the white man will give you the liquor bottle so he can lock you up for being drunk. Now, going back to Marie, let's look at the other side of this, though. We know the broader political context, but at the same time, personal choices, personal accountability certainly comes into play. I'm really curious about this boyfriend. Not not just the fact that he made a mistake. He's a young guy, but you're with a woman who just won all this money, and you're making the very very poor choice for your family to run around with drugs and guns right after you've been bailed out, right after somebody blessed you with millions of dollars that they put on the line to get you out of jail. Clearly a poor decision maker. Very costly to the family. I don't know what kind of love they have. but it's a relationship I certainly question. At the same time, I understand what it's like to be young. Sometimes when you're young, let's just be real. Sometimes when you're young, you make stupid dating decisions. You date stupid people. You make bad choices. We all have. Now, I think though that. And this is a point that I alluded to in my book, Financial Lovemaking. One of the things that we don't understand, though, is that who you choose to spend your life with, who you choose to marry, who you choose to date, who you let into your life, those are some of the most important investments that you make. Investing is not just about money. Investment is about when allocating anything of value to some sort of purpose that you believe is important to you. So when you decide to enter a relationship, you're investing something more valuable than money. You're investing your heart. You're investing your youth. You're investing, your well-being, your happiness in another person. So if you invest that in that resource in a faulty way, then you will find yourself regretful of the decision that you made. So it sounds to me like this young lady, Marie, I don't know anything about her. I mean, for all I know, she could be using drugs. I mean, if she's arrested for drug possession, that could be a habit of hers. Maybe there's something about her interest as a person that leads her into these situations. I don't look at it as a necessarily, good woman meets bad guy kind of thing. I look at it as two young people who are making bad choices, whether her bad choice is to be with a bad person or her bad choice is to be involved in activities with a bad person. Remember, people used to always think that Bobby Brown was a horrible influence on Whitney Houston. But once people started to learn more about the relationship, they learned that Bobby and Whitney were two peas in a pod. In fact, might even say that Whitney might have influenced Bobby. You don't know. They were both kind of getting into some things they shouldn't have been doing really in the 90s. They got them into a lot of trouble and problems, all that stuff. But I'm not here to judge. We're not judging on that. What we're doing is we're just talking about investing and how we think about life, how we think about money, and how those two things are interlocked, how those two things are connected. You see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. 99% of how you manage your money is not about know-how. It's not about having investment expertise. It's not about having college degrees. It's not about having all this business experience. It's about your psychology and your mentality. It comes down to your emotional disposition, who you are as a person, the kinds of choices that you make, how disciplined you are with those choices. Think of it like losing weight. I could study all day long how to lose weight, what food I shouldn't eat, how many times I should go to the gym, how every muscle works. I could study all of that. But if I don't have the discipline and desire to apply the things I know, then I am going to become the fat gym teacher, basically. I'm going to end up not being in very good shape. My life is not going to go in the direction I want it to go. I'm not going to look the way that I want to look because I have not applied the things that I know in order to make my life better. Now, imagine somebody who doesn't know anything about fitness, doesn't know anything about exercise, doesn't know anything about how muscles work, but they're determined. So they watch what they eat, they go to the gym every day and work out 2 or 3 hours a day. Who's going to be in better shape? The person who knew nothing but did everything, or the person who knew everything and did nothing? So in this particular case, what I really see is a reminder that money pretty much makes you more of who you already are. People say this all the time. So if you are a spender, if you're a reckless spender, and you get a whole lot of money, you're just gonna spend more. If you are a saver, then when you get more money, you're gonna save more. My late grandmother, who was my first finance professor, she taught me a lot of these things. She never made more than $25,000 a year. She was a single mother, raised 5 kids by herself, and never, ever, ever had to borrow money that I ever saw. Always had perfect credit, always owned her own home, in her car, was out of debt. She was the one that other people in the family would come to when they needed to borrow money, and she was the one who made the lease, and she was a single mother, just like Marie. So, because I have a heart for single mothers and what they go through, and they're really on the front lines of the devastation of our community. I have a heart for what this lady's going through, but at the same time, I am just so hurt and disappointed that it looks like she might end up squandering a lot of this money. How do you win that much money and make so many bad decisions? She needs good financial advice. She needs somebody that she trusts, who she can put this money within a trust. She needs to look into getting a trust and having maybe $20 million put in the trust with a trustee that she can trust, who will disseminate that money to her slowly but surely, give her maybe a nice salary every year, $500,000 a year, but let the rest of the money grow. Because remember, this kind of money is not just, it's not just throw it up in the club money. This is not just go to the mall money. This is not just buy yourself a Bugatti money. This is multi, triple, quadruple generational money. This is the kind of money where when you have a check that big, your great, 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 triple great grandchildren shouldn't have to worry about a thing. This is what's being squandered. You understand? It's bad enough if she throws away this money and ruins her own life financially. That's bad. That's horrible. That's a tragedy. But guess what? When you throw away that kind of money, what's happening is you're forcing your children, your grandchildren, and your great grandchildren to all have to start over again. They're going to have to start over again in poverty because you made some very, very bad choices. So I'm not judging who her boyfriend is. Guess what? There are a whole lot of white folks out here who use a whole lot of drugs, who deal drugs, who break the law, who act a fool, all of that. So I'm not judging that particular part of her life or her boyfriend's life. But what I am saying is, if you don't have the good advice in your life, you should get it. Don't just take all the money and give it away to your pastor and throw it up, throw it to your family members and spend money bailing people out of jail. Make sure that there's an investment strategy where at least 20 to 30 million dollars of that money is put aside somewhere where you can't touch it. If you don't trust your own self with that money, then don't you even let yourself trust it. I used to do that when I was young. I did that with my grandmother. I would give her money and say, I don't care how much I beg for you to give me this money back. I don't want you to give it back. And she never did. I'd call her and say, okay, I changed my mind. Can you give me my money? She'd be like, no. So long story short, when I see Marie's situation, I really see a scenario that is unfortunately all too typical. This kind of money is not just multi-generational money, but this is the kind of money that could literally educate 100,000 black children over a 100-year period. Meaning, you could take millions of dollars. You could literally build schools. Several schools, many, 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 many schools for that amount of money. You could invest in 5,000 businesses for that amount of money, creating thousands and thousands of jobs for black people. This is capital. You don't waste capital. It's insane. So that's why I go bananas. My head explodes when I see another NBA athlete or entertainer who has it all, who has $100 million in salary, and they throw it all away. Because don't you understand? You're not just throwing away your future. You're throwing away the future of people who are not even born, people who won't be born for another 100 years. That's what I said when I read that crazy story about Vin Baker been making $100 million and now working at Starbucks. Do you understand the magnitude of the opportunity that you have thrown away by giving away all that money and giving it right back to the same white people who want your black ass in prison? I'm gonna calm down. I didn't mean to say black ass. That's just I can't help it. I'm mad, y'all. I need to chill. Okay, I'm gonna calm down now. I'm about to head out of town. I gotta go to New York in a couple of days. I'm actually gonna go back on the Breakfast Club pretty soon. I like that show. I give them a lot of credit because they give young people not just what they want, but they also give them what they need. And to that, I give them tremendous props. I want to make sure I mention that to you. That's it. So I wish Marie the very, very best. And it just breaks my heart. It really does. So I wish I could help her, but unfortunately, I don't know her. So maybe if one of you guys knows her and want to connect me to her, I'll be glad to help her out. All right, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Wealth Boot Camp. Also, we have the Black Wealth Academy now. You can find them at both websites, theblackwwealthacademy.com and theblackwwealthbootcamp.com. So until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. I am gone. Peace.